MS Now's Ariel Hickson is live on the National Mall, where a protest is just getting underway. MS Now's Nnamdi Egawanwu is covering May Day events in Minneapolis. Also with us, Eddie Glaude, professor at Princeton and an MS Now contributor and political analyst. Ariel, from the Washington Monument, an event that is the centerpiece of today's action. Tell us what you're seeing and hearing.
Well, Chris, you can see and hear a really energized crowd right behind me, just steps from the White House. This as the president is getting ready to depart for Florida. I don't know if you can hear some of the helicopters as well, clearing the airspace for that to happen. This as thousands are gathering here today to get the attention of President Trump to key issues when it comes for immigration, economic issues, federal rights for workers, as well as environmental issues across the country. It's all part of May Day Strong, a nationwide effort calling for no school, no work, no shopping across the country, all to create a real economic blackout that is happening right now. Now, I spoke to a number of really passionate individuals who say they're quite concerned about what's happening overseas and how that's having quite an impact on the economy here today when it comes to inflation and gas prices. Take a listen. Why are you here today?
To be a part of our community, to hold our governments accountable for, to voice our concerns, what's going on not only in our country, but other countries, how what we do affects everybody.
You have families that aren't able to eat. We aren't able to put gas in our car to drop off our kids and pick them up from school. We have to figure out we should pay the light bill or put gas in the car. It's disheartening rather, but it's embarrassing.
Now, in about 10 minutes, this crowd is about to gather together and march right past the White House. At some point, there's going to be a concert where union leaders are expected to address the crowd, get them energized. At this point here in Washington, D.C., it's especially significant that this crowd is gathering because this area has the highest rate of unemployment in the country. According to the Department of Labor, that unemployment rate is at 6.7%. There's a number of former federal workers in the crowd who say that today is extremely important for the Trump administration to pay attention to for the future. This, of course, is one of thousands of events that are happening across the country, calling for justice, calling for a number of different groups to come together and really focus on the rights of just so many people.
Thank you so much for that. Keep us posted how things are going there. Nnamdi, you're at an event in Minneapolis. Tell us about the mood and what you're hearing.
Yeah, we're at an event that really speaks to the intent behind May Day, which of course started amid efforts by workers to advocate for better working conditions. That's what we're seeing happen right now behind me. You can see these are all Local 17 hotel workers. They're union workers that are currently striking as they try to push their employer to give them about a $2 to $3 wage increase. They tell me the goal is just to get a basic living wage. They tell me that the struggle has been real. People I've spoken to have pointed out that this is a largely immigrant, largely lower income workforce. One that I will remind you is still recovering from the surge of immigration agents we saw to Minneapolis, and that surge disrupted business. I just spoke to one striking worker. Her name is Juana. She is Latina. She speaks Spanish, and she was telling me, crying while telling me about how difficult it was not just dealing with that immigration surge, but feeling like she wasn't getting the support she wanted from her employer in terms of support for taking time off. She was fearful of coming in at certain points in order to avoid encounters with ICE. So that really speaks to the spirit of this day. Ultimately, the striking workers I've spoken to tell me that the tenor of this year's May Day feels different because of the current state of the country, because of rising costs due to the war, because of the immigration surge I just mentioned, and ultimately because everyone is struggling with higher costs. I want to play you portions of my conversations. Take a listen.
It's fair to say everybody's experiencing an increase in their costs. You, me, workers and working families are really struggling right now.
Right now, I think all of us are really just getting paycheck to paycheck. Like this economy has been really tough, and we're trying to fix that, trying to rebalance those scales.
So just to give you a little idea of what we're expecting here in Minneapolis, one, this crowd is only growing. We've been here for about an hour, and we've seen it almost double in size as protesters continue to make their voice heard. In a couple hours is going to be a larger vote with this specific union as they work to formally authorize the strike and continue to push for better working conditions. A little bit later this evening, there's going to be a much larger May Day demonstration here in Minneapolis. It's going to combine the ICE Out Minnesota effort that still seeks to advocate for immigrants here, while also, again, supporting worker rights, the right for workers to protest and make their voices heard, try to fight for better conditions. And finally, I'll point out that things are a little bit different here, where, like, as Ariel pointed out, a big focus of May Day is an economic boycott. Things are different here. There actually is a drive to support local businesses that may have been struggling, specifically Somali-run businesses, Hispanic-run businesses. So the mission here is actually to march down to those corridors where a lot of those businesses are and support them economically, because, again, many of them have been struggling, Chris.
Thanks so much for that, Nnamdi. You know, Eddie, norm bending isn't unusual in this administration, to say the least. But I think, too, guaranteed movers of policy have long been overwhelming public opinion and a bad economy. How has the extraordinary discontent of voters, and I should point out in a lot of cities, it's like where Nnamdi is here in New York, elsewhere, the biggest protests are going to happen later. But how has this level of discontent of voters not moved this president on the war, on the economy, on immigration, on anything?
Well, as always, Chris, it's wonderful to see you. I think it has something to do with the two Americas that Trump repeatedly refers to. And that is to say, there are those who disagree with his position. He describes them as the radical woke left, communists, those people who threaten America as he understands it. And then there are those who he considers or takes to be the true Americans. And it seems to me that he's governing to them, or at least he plays to that latter group as opposed to the former group. But more importantly, he plays to his business friends. He plays to his own financial interests. So we're dealing with not only questions of corruption, but it's also alongside the issues of affordability. So he has no interest in everyday, ordinary Americans. He only has interest in those people who are aligned with his political ideology and those people who are aligned with his economic interest.
Well, as, Eddie, Americans grapple with rising gas prices in particular, I want to play what President Trump had to say about that.
The average price of a gallon of gas is now $4.30 in this country.
And you know what? And we're not going to have a nuclear weapon in the hands of Iran. The gas will go down. As soon as the war's over, it'll drop like a rock. There's so much of it. It's all over the place, sitting all over the oceans of the world.
So 4:30 yesterday, 4:39 today. But he keeps shrugging off the struggles of millions of Americans. And why have Republicans in Congress stayed in such lockstep with him? Does it suggest they fear President Trump more than the American voter?
Well, some of them do, but I think we also need to just finally admit that some of them ideologically are in lockstep with Donald Trump. They believe in the America that he puts forward, that Donald Trump is in some ways a carnival barker for a set of ideological positions aimed at literally engaging in a sweeping cultural shift in the country. That's the language of Project 2025. But in that moment that you just played, Chris, it's clear. I mean, we can call it his Marie Antoinette moment, but more concretely, it's clear that Donald Trump has little to no interest in the lives of everyday, ordinary Americans. He has no concern for working people. He has no concern for the very small businesses that in so many ways constitute the engine of the country. He's only concerned about oligarchs and power. And if we need to understand him for that, as he tells the rest of us, he gaslights the rest of us about gas prices, and everyone else is trying to figure out how they're going to keep a roof over their head, put food on the table, and get to work.